Welcome to Transform and Thrive. I'm your host, Jessalin Lam, and this series is all about uncovering the stories of transformation, resilience, and growth that inspire us to embrace change and thrive in our lives. In each episode, I sit down with incredible trailblazers who have turned challenges into opportunities, sharing their pivotal lessons and mindset shifts that led to their transformation. Today's guest is Cam Walker, who is an executive and leadership coach, keynote speaker, and culture strategist with over 20 years of experience helping leaders grow with purpose and power. As a founder of Useful Coaching and VP of Performance Management and Coaching at Heartbeat, she blends psychology, system thinking, and radical candor to create spaces where people don't just succeed, they thrive. Cam is known for her grounded presence, fierce insight, and unwavering belief that real transformation begins with her self awareness. So, whether you're navigating a challenge, seeking a motivation, or taking the next step, you'll find so much inspiration today. And we'll dive in. Welcome, Cam.
Thank you, Jessalyn. When you read it like that, I'm like, I'm okay,
I
I'm
know. I'm
feeling
like, yes, that
right.
is you. And I have the gift of being working with you and so grateful for your presence in my life.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank,
Great. So
thank you for
let's
having
get,
me. Yeah.
of course, so happy to have you today. And we'll get started and go with transformation. So when it comes to transformation, can you share a significant challenge or turning point in your life that became a catalyst for transformation?
Uh, yeah. Again, thank you for having me. I always love getting together with you. You are a source of inspiration for me. So I was looking forward to us spending time together today. One of the biggest turning points for me wasn't a dramatic crash. It was more like this quiet, oh, this don't feel right moment. I looked around and I realized I had built a life that looked great on paper, but felt kind of empty. And I was performing success, not quite living it. So basically, starring, I often say, in a role someone else wrote for me. And I kept asking myself, what is the best use of me, right? And deep down, I knew I wasn't using the full stretch of who I am. I, my background, I started in finance, then pivoted into advertising. When I got in here, I stepped into client service and then transitioned into production. So transformation is part of my lived experience and journey. And each role, I think, though, brought me a little closer to alignment, but it wasn't until I really stepped into coaching full time, to be quite honest with you, that it all clicked. And that's where purpose for me and profession finally kind of shook hands. And I'll be real, the hardest part wasn't leaving something bad. I had a good job. I it was leaving something good.
Mhm.
Something people expected me to hold on to, but I knew what good was no longer good enough if it cost me being fully myself. Yeah.
Right. Right. And that's someone else's expectation and not what you're wanting to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then even just going on to like overcoming challenges,
Mhm.
what is one of the biggest challenges that you have faced during this period, or how did you overcome it?
Oh, the biggest challenge. I say trust in my own voice in a room full of other people's expectations, you know.
Mm, yeah.
I wasn't leaving a dumpster fire. Like, I'm being totally honest. I got recruited out of undergrad. Like, I had a job walking commencement, you know. And so, but it always kind of attached to what my parents, I love them, my immigrant Jamaican parents in America wanted for me. And so I was leaving a good thing. Salary, beautiful. I was able to buy my first home at like 23. Title, I had it. But inside, I was quite quietly withering, I would say, right?
Mm,
I was good at the job, but it wasn't good for me. And when I told my family I was pivoting from finance to advertising, I'm not gonna say they lost it, but they staged a full-on intervention at a family barbecue in Queens. Okay, I'm talking ribs, potato salad, and life advice I did not ask for on the plate. Right. And I know everyone, like everyone meant well, right? But no one could see what I saw them. And I think that was the challenge, making a move that didn't make sense to anyone but me. Right?
Yourself. Yeah.
Betting on a feeling and trusting a whisper. And the only way I got through it, I remembered that no one is responsible for my alignment, Jay, but me,
Mm,
right? I had to silence the noise, honor the knowing, and move.
yeah.
Scared if I had to move anyway, and because I think just staying in a good thing that disconnects you, that for me was a quiet kind of suffering, and I choose peace over performance every single time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's amazing that you're like listening to this calling because it's your gift to the world. And then now you're able to like shine your light and be able to bring it to more people.
Yeah.
So that takes a lot of courage to do that
Ooh,
too.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
For
Well,
sure.
and that also even shifts to like the mindset shift
Mm.
because you hear everything people are saying to you, what their expectation are, and I'd be curious to hear like what mindset shift or realization helped you move forward to be able to grow during this time.
Yeah. So many, right?
Yeah.
But but I think one of the biggest mindset shifts for me was this, right? um, Being good at something doesn't mean you're meant to stay in it, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and I had to learn that competence and calling are not always the same thing.
Mhm.
Right? I could crush jobs. Like, listen, I'm going to grow wherever I'm planted, right? Like
Yeah.
that's just my upbringing. That's just my own guiding sense of ambition. Like if you give me a job to do, I am going to do it well. And I had that, like I could crush the job, right? And still feel completely misaligned. And for a
Mm,
long time, I mistook being needed for being fulfilled. And that'll
yeah.
trap you really, really quick, right?
Right.
Another shift, I think I stopped outsourcing authority. I used to wait for someone to validate my next move, like I needed a permission slip to change, you know what I mean? But
Hmm.
the truth is, I am the complete authority on cam.
I love
Like
that.
people might know me well, but I know me best, right?
Hmm.
And I know when something is off. I know when I'm shrinking. I know when it's time to pivot. And I think we get a lot more sort of pokes about when something isn't right way sooner than we actually realize. But we're spending
Hmm.
so much time waiting for the external to validate what we know. And I think once I really believed that, I stopped trying to make almost right work and started chasing, like I said, alignment instead of approval. Yeah.
I love that. And you're talking a lot about alignment, and I'm sure there's a lot of learning lessons when there is misalignment too. So
Mhm.
were there moments of failure along the way, and how did you learn from them?
Oh, failure.
I know there could be a whole episode about that, I'm sure, learning lessons.
Oh, absolutely. Good human. I had failures. Failures, failures with capital S at the end. That failures that humbled me, stretched me,
Mhm. Yeah.
and I want to say at times, I'm gonna keep it real, bruised up my little ego. you know? But one that stands out, early on, I took a leadership role that I think it looked like a dream on paper. Listen, the money was not funny. but I think I had ignored my gut, right? And I could feel it wasn't the right environment. But I told myself, you'll figure it out. You always do. You can grow wherever you're planted, Giving myself the good old pep talk. And I did, but it cost me too much. Yeah, it was
Mm.
at a cost. The job chipped away at my confidence, my joy, and my wellness, my physical health. I
Right.
stayed longer than I should have because I didn't want it to look like failure. But the truth is that, my experience taught me one of the most important lessons, Jay, and it's failure isn't sort of opposite of success. It's
Mhm.
all part of the recipe of success, right?
Absolutely.
Role forced me to get crystal clear on what I needed to thrive, not just what I should be tolerating. And now I
Mm.
don't stay anywhere out of obligation or optics. I'm a mover, I stay away, like I have the gift of goodbye. I
Yeah.
stay when it's aligned, when it's life-giving, and I've made peace with I'd say like I've made peace with walking away from anything that isn't. Yeah, that
Yeah.
isn't. Yeah.
Well, and that takes a lot of self-awareness, and I love that you're even talking about failures. So like a growth mindset is a really big, it's even the reason that inspired me to create this show to help teach people to cultivate one. And so when we talk about failure, it's something that people need to reframe where these are just learning lessons. It's
Yeah.
important to take risks and learn from that. And even
Yeah.
if there's a mistake that you make, be able to reframe what are you learning from that, and maybe the
Yeah.
learning is it's time to leave. So
Yeah.
like what you're saying, the gift of goodbye, like not everyone knows how to do that, so like take that time to pause and reflect, is this serving me? And then if it's not, it's time to leave and let it go.
Yeah, it's just not worth it. It's
Mhm.
not worth the price you will pay for
Right.
trying to make it fit when you know it will not. Even if you
Right.
shave down the sides, you like to try to put a square in a circle, and you can shave off the edges of the square, but it's
Yep.
not gonna be a circle, So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just
Yep.
not. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, and then also along the way with everything going on in life, it's important to always have community. So
Hmm.
I'm curious to hear like who or what supported you during transformations in your life.
Yeah. So Ooh, um, okay, so I always tell people when they compliment me, I smile and I would say, thank you, God in therapy. God in therapy. Because listen, that's the foundation of I stand on. I come from a very faith-based upbringing. This.
Hmm.
And I make sure I tell people the truth of that. And regardless of my issues with it, my faith has carried me through things I haven't even been fully able to share with others. It's the quiet strength, I think, under everything I do. My faith has been my compass. God has been my calm, and sometimes my only clarity. Therapy, therapy. I want to say everybody is therapy. At one
Yeah.
point, I was like, "You get therapy. You get therapy. You get therapy. You're gonna get a birthday gift of therapy." But for me, therapy helped me untangle sort of the rest, right? Like it gave me language for the hard stuff, permission
Mhm.
to let go of old stories, right? Inherited stories, being an immigrant, for me at least, I was born in Jamaica. I grew up in America, but all of that was still in play for me. And also, therapy gave me tools to be more gentle with myself overall. And that healing work, I think it changed how I showed up for others and for me. Of course, my people, my tribe, hey tribe, have been incredible. Hey, Jessalin, the ones who didn't need me to explain my pivot, or even have to package it nicely, and go through the intervention at the barbecue, they just said, they were like, Cam, go. We trust you with us, so of course we're going to trust you with you. And that kind of belief, I think that's holy too, and I reverence that. And then honestly, community, I think for me, also came from within, right? I had to become part of my own support system, and so I started journaling again, talking to myself like someone I love, right?
Mm.
Like seeing Cam as I saw everybody else that I pour into. And I think I became the voice that I needed to hear. And so all of those things work in concert with each other to not only lift me up, but to keep me standing up. Yeah.
That's so beautiful, and especially even writing to yourself, because I always remind people you need to speak to yourself with kindness, like you would with your own best friend, because we
Yeah.
tend to be our worst critics and always criticize everything we're doing. So making
Everything.
time to intentionally do that, and it sounds
Yeah.
like you have such a beautiful like toolkit of resources that you have access to like keep yourself grounded and making sure that you're thriving, which then now leads me to the question of like thriving habits that you have. Like, what are practical steps or habits that have helped you thrive and continue to thrive?
Yeah. Let's see. One of the biggest shifts, I think, was learning to make my wellness non-negotiable, right?
Mm.
Not something I fit in after the hustle, so to speak, but the foundation I build the hustle on, Like I said, journaling is a habit that became a lifeline for me, just me, my thoughts, and a pen. No performance, no filter. I think that's where I check in with myself, is how I actually track my own truth, and to keep that on.
Mm.
I also built in pauses, like little sacred moments of stillness, right?
Yeah.
Um, I coach primarily in the day. I'm flowing out. I'm pouring out to others. The majority of the time that I spend outside of my own home. And so for me, making sure that those sessions are not back to back, there's always sort of like a break between the two. But even before those sessions, like lighting a candle, I set a vibe, I pray, even if it's just a breath. It's a reset, because when I feel
Mm.
like when I'm centered, everything I give is cleaner, sharper, and more
Yep.
powerful. And I always tell people, like, you're the source, right? And so the condition in which the source sort of lives and reside, everything that comes from the source and comes in contact with the source is a recipient of that directly. And so I want to make sure
Totally.
that I am collected and I'm centered. And listen, boundaries.
Yeah.
That's a powerful habit, saying no without guilt, right?
Mm.
Protecting my peace without needing to over explain, and realizing thriving isn't about doing more. For me, it's about doing what matters, right? From a place that's whole. So yeah, my thriving doesn't look flashy, to be quite honest with you. It's quiet, it's steady, it's
Mm.
hyper intentional, and it shows up in how I feel when I wake up, right? And how proud I am when I lay my head down at night to sleep. Yeah.
Mm. It sounds so beautiful. Like it sounds like it's everything you need for that inner peace, the calm and harmony in your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the pauses, I can't over sort of emphasize how important building pauses into your existence flow.
Throughout the day, because
Yeah.
oftentimes people are like, go, go, go in this hustle culture
Yeah.
where that's going to lead you to burnout.
Yeah.
So being able
100%.
to take time to be slowing down intentionally, pausing. So I love that you already have that integrated into
Yeah.
your routine and lifestyle.
Yeah. And it wasn't always turnkey for me. I had to build it up. It's like a muscle. You have to build up boundary. You have to build up the
Hmm.
ability to put pause, and you have to build up the ability to know that you're still a valuable contributor,
Yeah.
right? Even when you don't say yes to every single thing. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. I love that.
Mhm.
Well, and then also when it comes to defining what thriving is, how has transformation shaped who you are today, and what does thriving specifically mean to you?
Um, yeah. So I think for me, this transformation, as we've been talking about, has shaped everything, right? The way I feel, the way I lead, the way I coach, the way I love, and even the way I rest, right? I used to think
Mm-hmm.
thriving was about achievement, to be quite honest with you, hitting the
Mm-hmm.
mark, crossing the finish line, what are the
Yeah.
accolades I can show? And
Right.
now I know it's about alignment. Um,
Mm.
Thriving for me is when my soul and my schedule are in agreement. When I am not doing, when I am not just doing things well, but I feel well while
Mm-hmm.
doing them. And that's the difference. It means waking up with a sense of peace, like I said, even when the day is full. It means having capacity to be present for others without losing myself. I saw a quote once that says, I don't have to set myself on fire to keep you warm, And I thought
Mm.
that was so like, it stuck with me because a lot of
Yeah.
times I had kind of fell into the thing like, if I can just be done and finished when others rise up and I'm like in the dirt, right? And that was a measure
Mm.
of being impactful. And
Yeah.
it's not. And it means my yes is honest and my no is guilt-free, right?
Right.
Thriving is not perfection. I've walked away
Mm-hmm.
from that. It's not always being on, so to speak.
Yeah.
For me, thriving is being whole, right?
Mm.
It's knowing who I am and moving through the world like I belong to myself first.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I love that. And even hearing what you're saying, it's reminding me of something I heard of, like it's not about managing your time, it's managing your energy.
yeah,
That's going to be really important. And
yeah.
then I love what you're saying about it's not about perfection, because I feel like I used to be like that, and it's a lot of unlearning that I have to do, and just reminding ourselves we're always a work in progress.
Oh, yeah,
And that's really important.
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also speaking about progress, it's also important to celebrate our progress along the way. So when it comes to celebrating yourself, Cam, like how do you take that time to celebrate or acknowledge your growth and success for who you are today and who you're becoming?
Yeah, I actually used to skip this part. Yeah,
Yeah.
sad. I think I was so focused on the next goal, again, being
Hmm.
a hyperachiever. If you take positive intelligence,
Yeah, yeah.
saboteur assessment,
Yep.
I check all 10 on hyper, like, um, the next thing to fix or build or solve. And yeah, I had taken sort of a brand identity in solving things. So it was like, all right, what else? What else? What else?
Yep.
But I think over time I've learned celebration isn't extra, it's essential.
Hmm.
Now I celebrate through presence, through the quiet, intentional moments that feel like exhaling, you know? And sometimes that's for me, that's a long Sunday drive with the love of my life. Hey, Johnny Cakes.
I love that.
Windows down, Van Morrison in the background playing, no destination, just being.
Hmm.
Other times it's a luxury spa day. Listen, if I could spend my whole life at a spa, I would. I go in, I get the scrubs, I get the facial. Like I'm not just hanging out at the spa. Like I'm getting everything.
Everything. Yeah.
I love spa. I love the it just zens you out. The lights are low, the music are low,
Like
and
it's a whole vibe.
the
Yeah.
whole vibe that says exhale and relax here,
Yeah. Yeah.
unplug, unwind, and let the silence just kind of just hug me up and hold me. I think because
Yeah.
that for me removes me from just so much of what I typically am a part of, the noise and the hustle and the bustle
Mm,
and
yeah.
always having something going on around. And then I think for me, also celebrating, there are days I sit in a park, no phone, no agenda, just watching life move around me, letting me remember that I'm the center of my universe, but not everybody else's universe. And just also how far I've come and
Yep.
how good it feels to just be in that moment of realizing that I
Hmm.
have lost, but I've also won and I've won big. I
Right.
think because that's for the real celebration, right? Not just what I've done, but but who I've become and honoring
Hmm.
her. That
Yeah,
part.
like and how far you've come because even taking that time to think about like your younger self would be so
Yeah.
proud of who you are today.
Yeah. Yeah, and no, and remembering that I used to joke, I'm like celebrating everybody. Oh my God, you could just like skip the puddle and didn't step in. And I'm like, yes, girl, go ahead. And then I'd be like, oh man, I didn't wear the right rain shoes for me, like just
Yeah.
so like
Hmm.
hyper focus on celebration of others and hyper focus on critical review of
Credit.
me.
Yeah.
And I feel like honoring her, that version of me, that has made it through. I'm a master. I think I have a PhD in recovery and resilience,
Oh,
and
I
so
love
being
that.
able to, like, I can come through hard things well and just sit
Hmm.
in that knowing makes me feel proud. And I celebrate that now versus looking back at it with shame. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't skip that ritual anymore, ever. It may come off to others as braggadocious, but I'm remarkable. Like,
Oh, yeah. And I
right?
was gonna say, and those are your people. You want to be around people who are celebrating you too.
Yeah. It's not bragging when it's based on facts, and I got a
Yes,
lot of receipts. Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing how you celebrate yourself. And then I would also love you to share some resources. Like, are there habits, tools, resources that help you maintain momentum during your own journey in life?
Yeah, I'm big on tools. I love a good book of telling me frameworks and stuff. I also feel like I just love to learn and sit in somebody's class, and that's why I'm $60,000 in with a whole bunch of degrees and certifications. My husband is like, "Ma'am, what else? What else do you need to learn?" Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, tools for me keep me, connected to myself, to my purpose. And to what matters most. So journaling, again, I know some people probably don't feel connected to journaling, but for those who do, keep doing it. And for those who don't, just give it a try. Journaling is a non-negotiable for me. It's like I said, it's where I process, reflect, and remind myself of what's true when the noise gets loud. A lot of stuff
Mhm.
come in and tell us stories, and then we don't have time to kind of filter in between what is the story and what is just like the lie, right? So I literally go back and I read old entries to see how far I've come. I also keep a playlist. I as well as growing up in a faith family, I grew up in a very musical faith family. And so faith and music has always been connected to my way of being. And I
Mhm.
love music. I think music can usher into us a lot of things in our state of being that we want to bring forth and we want to say. A lot of times I hear a song and I'm like, yes, that's my words, and the vibe. And so it helps me recenter. I have a playlist. I have many playlists. I call them like Rainy Love Night or Kick Ass on this presentation day, refocus, and reframe,
Yep.
and yeah, and then therapy, been a game
Mm,
and also coaching, right?
yeah.
Yes, even as a coach myself, I believe in being poured into so I can
Hmm.
keep pouring out, right? So
Right.
I have my own coach and I have my own personal board of directors. I went to a conference once and one of the presenters was talking about personal board of directors.
Hmm.
And so from
Important.
then I constructed one and I have,
Yep.
because I know we do not grow in isolation. Um,
Hmm.
and honestly, my calendar. I am intentional about how I plan my time. You ain't gonna run me, right? Like, you're not gonna put thing on my calendar and then I'm just like, oh my God, I have to do this. I will decline and propose like nobody's business. My decline, propose, new trigger finger is very strong. So yeah, my calendar, like we talked about, I block space for stillness on my calendar.
Mm.
I
Oh, I love that. That's on your
yeah,
calendar. Yeah.
treat rest like it's part of the strategy because it is, right? And the last thing I think I want to mention here is that I say no to protect the quality of the things I've said yes to, right?
Mm.
The boundary, that's part of the resource toolkit too, y'all.
Yeah, it sounds like you're really great with setting boundaries and you have all these tools and routines and how you're
Yeah,
integrating that into your
yeah.
life.
And they're not just habits, Shay, they're lifelines, right? They
Hmm.
help us move with clarity and
Yeah,
care, even when the path that I found isn't fully lit up yet, and it
right.
keeps us collected to ourselves. And like I know a collected version of any human is always the most powerful version of them. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
I love that. And it's such a great way to honor yourself too.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, the last question is being able to ask you what advice you would give to our audience. So, what is one message, mantra, or advice you'd like to leave with people, and especially those who may be struggling to take that first step towards their own transformation?
Hmm. Um, okay. Here's what I want you all to remember. You don't need all the answers to take the first step.
Mm,
You just need enough courage to trust the knowing that is inside of you. We spend so much time waiting, right? Waiting to feel ready, waiting for
mm,
permission, waiting for a sign, waiting for somebody else to co-sign, right? But sometimes you're the sign. You are the sign. You're the evidence. The fact that you're restless and curious and unsatisfied, that's your soul tapping you on the forehead saying, hey, hey,
yeah.
ma'am, sir, there's more. And yes, it's scary. Growth always costs something. But staying stuck, I believe, costs more. It costs your peace, it costs
Yeah.
joy,
The disservice to yourself. Yeah.
costs your alignment. Yeah.
Mhm.
So my advice, don't wait until you're fearless. That probably never comes. Move while your voice still shakes. I've heard before, and I believe that. Bet on yourself while the outcome still blurry. Just
Yeah.
and then move again and move again and move again.
Mm,
And if no one else have told you lately, you are capable, you are worthy, and you are allowed to change your mind and your life.
hmm.
It is your
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. I love that. I feel like I need a pocket daily full of Cam all the time. This is amazing. Such a great way to wrap up the session today. And it's such an inspiring conversation with so many drops of wisdom from you. And it's a great reminder for all of us that transformation begins with like setting those boundaries, giving yourself permission, and really honoring yourself and really being able to embrace challenges and learn from those setbacks. And even as you mentioned, to take that first step to move forward and be able to get started instead of staying stuck. And so thank you so much for joining today and joining Transform and Thrive show. So for everyone listening, if today's episode resonated with you, please give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who could benefit from hearing this amazing story, and subscribe to our channel for more stories of growth and empowerment. Thank you, Kim. Appreciate
Thank you, Jessalyn.
you.
Thank you for the work you're doing for the world. You
Thank
are
you.
making a huge difference, and that's legacy work. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.